If you take Dead Space, the Silent Hill 2 remake, and Resident Evil 4 with the splash of 12 Monkeys and John Carpenter's The Thing, you get Blooper Team's brand new horror IP, Chronos, The New Dawn. A strange, bleak, and mind-bending over-the-shoulder survival horror game that, from the very start, had me engrossed in its dark atmosphere and story. You play as a mysterious traveler who is tasked with navigating an apocalypse after an event known as the Change. To find risks which send you back in time to 1980s Poland right before the change happens, to collect a select few of people's essence or souls for the collective. The pandemic turned most everyone into orphans, which are gruesome monsters that love to merge with the dead to become more of a pain in the ass. Think Crimson Heads of RE1, so fire becomes very important in discarding them to prevent this from happening. And that's basically all you know from the start of the game. No exposition, just a flash set of images and a voice asking you bizarre questions and a Rorschach test. I love this kind of storytelling if done right because it keeps you invested, engaged, and hungry for any pieces of the story. The traveler who you play as is cold and calculated, but very compelling as a character. The combat is what I was most concerned about being a survival horror game, and too much of a focus on it can be detrimental to the horror. I didn't want another Resident Evil 6 on my hands, but I'm happy to say that while there's lots of combat, it still takes its time with the horror bits and basic survival horror stuff like puzzles, be it kinda basic, resource management, or fetching a fuse to make sure you have room in your very limited inventory. I think they found the right balance between combat and horror. Also, the anomalies which move the environment can become more complicated and puzzle-like as you go. There's also lots of fun to be had with the boss fights. They're tense and nail-biting. Basic shooting explosive barrels and exposed red zits kind of stuff, but it definitely works and they have a lot of variety of bosses and enemies. The combat is pretty fun, but it can take a minute to get used to keeping your aim while using a charged shot to the head, which you quickly learn is the only way to kill these things. Since ammo is scarce, and I mean scarce, this is necessary if you want to survive. There's a familiar crafting system of Resident Evil 4, which is also imperative if you want to survive, by crafting your own bullets and health stems from collecting other resources. You can also sell them for currency used to upgrade your kit, allowing for a lot of options to become pretty powerful. This limited inventory can be a pain though, especially when you need the bolt cutters and have to backtrack to the safe room to get them. I feel like I was playing Dead Space a lot of the time, the controls being almost the same, with similar mechanics like swinging and stomping to crush resource boxes, or a last-ditch effort not to become a monster snack. I caught myself trying to shoot the limbs off a few times, but that's not how these monsters work. Fire is their weakness, and a charged shot to the head will definitely do them in. There's even the Dead Space quarantine sections that lock you in until the threat is neutralized, which is always panic-inducing. When you travel back in time, it offers a fresh perspective on the environment, going from bleak apocalypse to new hallways, which is always nice and breaks up the gameplay loop. I think Blooper Team has done it again with this brand new horror IP, though it may not be groundbreaking, borrowing from other great horror games and movies to make something that you can't go wrong with. So all in all, Cronos The New Dawn scratched a very particular survival horror itch, and with this engaging story, combat, and horror, I'll definitely be playing again to get those different endings. Well, that's it for the review. Please slash that like button and maybe consider subscribing if you like this kind of stuff. I know my little horror game channel will appreciate it.